Hello, I'm the True Gamer, giving off my vast knowledge so you may understand games a bit better. Welcome to the Indie Trilogy Review, where I look at 3 indie games, one good, one bad, and one average. This one is the average one, though at times it goes to the bad. Though it had a lot of potential, loads of it, it didn't reach any of the high points, and it just ends up being decent with too many issues that run too deep to allow it to be good. Today's game is 3 out of 10. This game came out a while ago and entirely free. I don't hate it, but it's fine. It does its job. And that's what's really sad. But in any case, let us begin the review of 3 out of 10. On the store, it is considered to be a sitcom game, which is not something I've seen, but I feel like I've seen it somewhere before. If I have a memory of it, and maybe if I remember it, I'll talk about it soon. But in any case, yeah, trying to be a sitcom game. I don't think it worked here. Well, in the context of the game, what does that mean? It means it's going to be a very story-driven game that's not going to be very gameplay, with a lot of characters that only a few will be important for the plot of the day and will eventually just drive in and either make jokes of the situation or be the joke in and of themselves. Not calling the idea in situations bad, just it's kind of hard as sitcoms over time kind of had a dirty term as it represents lazy comedy, but at least this game doesn't have a laugh track, for God's sakes. So, trying to explain the joke of this game is a bit odd, as it's trying to be meta at times, just having fun of making the characters bad game devs in the world that's bizarre? Or it would say bizarre, because sometimes it wants to flip-flop on this, and it's really weird. Actually, throughout this, I'm going to be referencing another show, regular show, as I kind of feel like their ideas are very similar in what they're trying to do. So, know what I'm trying here when I'm comparing the two, as I do think regular show is a better quality than this game. I should begin to actually explain the setting, as it does take place at Shovelworks Studios. That is a weird title, as you would think they would make shovelware games, but no. But then again, they all suck at making video games, so they don't get much higher than a 3 out of 10. Title drop! They get a new kid named Midge, who is the straight guy to the whole situation, as she just takes everything like a normal person would, after the last guy, Javier, died of instantaneous combustion. Though it doesn't really work because his desk is covered in blood, because I'm pretty sure if somebody dies from instantaneous combustion, you're being on fire and you don't leave much of a mess, if I've been told. But that doesn't really matter, as none of the devs seem to care much. Speaking of the game devs, it's kinda hard to explain them all, but the best way I can describe them all is, good God, these characters are very shallow, as I feel like I barely even know these characters. Take Francine, for example. She's the company's HR, and is the one that doesn't care about most situations, and the issue I found her to be is that she's the worst. Seriously, I hated every scene she was in. She didn't add to the joke, except being annoying and not caring about the joke, as that got really old really fast. This type of character only works in moderation, and if you're not careful, this character can ruin all your comedy. The game also implies that something happened between Francine and Kevin, one of the other devs, as I thought that was confusing, as why not just get it out there and help us grasp the characters and the relation? Since I find that if we don't know what a character is like, we kinda lose out on the joke, since we don't know what the characters are normally like. And I mean, like, I get the idea of not saying everything to have a nice reveal later, but at the same time, a simple introduction of the characters' relation to each other helps flesh out them all very easily. Though again, like I said, I barely got anything to say on them, so I'll just go over the characters right now and generally summarize them. Midge, as I said, is the straight guy to everything around her, so Kevin is the guy that, I think it's the idiot? I'm not particularly sure, as no one really, I legit don't know what the fuck he is in this type of story. Pylon's is a weird one, though because of his green skin, but also because he doesn't say weird things at times. Joanne's the nice woman who has a weird path that doesn't indulge on that path, but I'll explain why it works, because basically that's the part of the joke, that her backstory is so mysterious that no one really knows what the heck she did. It's kind of like Benson from regular show, because of how at times she just is not just this normal person, but then has all these kind of cool factors that come out and are really funny. Francine, as I said, is the annoying one. Ben is the, I would call him the token black guy, but that's not right either, as he doesn't have anything much than being serious one at times, though less annoying than Francine, by the way. Viper's the funniest, as due to his extreme wanting of violence and his identity allows for the comedy to ensue, as he also has, and I found this weird, to be one of the game's artists, which did get me a bit. Also, he's a fan of Sweaty Blood. I wonder if 90s Kid is a fan of that. Also, Jet's the boss, and he doesn't even ever factor into anything, really. I mean, anytime I see him, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. Well, who the hell is this guy again? As I stated before, they didn't really endear me to the characters, and that's in 5 episodes. But again, I would hardly care much, as it feels all lackluster. Investment in these characters was a bit hard for me, except Viper, because again, his comedy was more on the moment. And I mean, they had 5 episodes, which were usually about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on what you did. And I mean, again, I'm referencing regular show again, made you care more about the characters due to the tight writing of the characters in making them funny and allowing their personalities to bounce off each other. Here, on the other hand, I felt like half the characters didn't do anything, and when they did, it wasn't much. Again, Francine. Again, most episodes she's just around being, and she does nothing, and it again frustrates me. Because if you're going to have a character, make her do something, and she's only does something in the 4th episode, and at that point you don't care. Actually, speaking of the episode model, let's talk about that, and how it's really not helpful, if I'm being honest. See, the game has 5 episodes, and I would expect these episodes to matter, but the issue is they don't. In fact, the last episode is just a cliffhanger, which annoys me, as I'm against cliffhangers. Honestly, I would talk about the story a bit more, but again, there's not much to talk about, since there's this group that wants the company to not make a better game than out of 3 out of 10 something, for reasons I'm not entirely sure. And that should really, really get on my nerves, since it's just bringing up something with no real tangible reason to being there. You know what, let's change the tune for a moment and talk about the music. Nobody got that, didn't they? The music is not bad, but it's not going to win any awards for its music, as it just does its job fine. Though saying that can also be applied to the gameplay. Yes, the gameplay is perfectly fine too, as that's odd, as they took an approach of the gameplay, that being new gameplay every time. You see, the game's approach for this game is making minigames out of the situation, though that's not always good or working. It's not a bad idea. By doing so, it makes sure that the player isn't easily bored by them, but they need to be interesting enough for them to continue onward, which offers some cool ideas, but fine for the most part, and some are not good. Though one issue I entirely have with the gameplay, you can entirely skip it. You could just blast through this game and not worry about the gameplay at all and just watch the cutscenes. Which a friend of mine, when I was talking about this game, kinda looks like a Comedy Central cartoon, which I entirely don't disagree with, but I would rather put it on a Adult Swim side of animation, since Adult Swim, it pretends to care at least, but Comedy Central doesn't ever. Though then again, that implies that there was no effort here, and I want to say this. I do think the devs were trying, and were trying to have fun while making this. Like the little beat 'em up section, which had this combo meter that had some jokes going along the way. The game is trying, and I appreciate that. It's just not interesting enough to carry the game through, which is why I planned this review in the first place, as I think there are ways they could have made this interesting. So for the rest of this, I'm just gonna go off some ideas that maybe could help the game. So first off, if you're doing a sitcom game, why not allow us to choose some jokes at times, as it would not only engage us with the cutscenes and more of the game, but it would be a content that would get some more mileage out of it and make it look worth a chance. And hell, the jokes don't have to be important to the story, so yeah. Though while talking about the story, either make it longer or the gameplay longer, since either one is too shallow and is not helping each other at all, and if one's bigger than the other, I would at least tell you to go for the story more. Next, I would then tell them to make the game run a little better. If you're wondering why I'm saying that, because my game for some reason, and I don't know why, ran terribly. I de-downloaded it multiple times to see what was the issue. And it can't be a mine issue, because I can run freaking Final Fantasy 13 Max Payne, free, all of them actually, but point being is, this thing can run fine, and it can't run this shit? Inexcusable. Though actually now thinking about it, I need to ask the devs something important. How much would you charge if this wasn't for free? Like, I have legit no idea, as my own thoughts would say $5 for everything or less. As I stated, these are fine, and then again, judging the prices of games nowadays is now just impossible with the market of how it is. Though again, I need to answer one question. Should you play it? That all depends on your thoughts on this. Well, I would say at least play the first episode, since it's barely like 30 minutes. If you like it, play the rest. If you didn't, you didn't lose much time, did you? Next time, we'll try to make our own path in that way. Dang, that joke did not work.